That girl look good.
I lost my daughter and my two grandchildren to something that I never imagined would happen.
On a quiet night on March 5th, 2021, a distressed neighbor called the police after hearing gunshots. When officers arrived at the scene, they found the window of the home in St. Louis shattered. Inside were the bodies of a 34-year-old mother, Roseanne McCulley, along with two of her children, 13-year-old son Caden Johnson and 6-year-old daughter Kaylee Brooks. The home was in disarray and the perpetrator was long gone. What was strange was that her husband, Bobby McCulley, and their 1-year-old daughter were nowhere to be found. The police were left wondering why these two individuals were missing and whether the husband was involved with the crime. When they found out that Roseanne had been posting cryptic messages on social media before her death, the case took a darker turn. This is the story of Roseanne McCulley, a mother of 3, and her 2 children whose lives were taken too soon. Before we get into the details of this case, we would like to extend our condolences to the family and friends of the 3 victims. We would also want to use this case as a close reminder to everyone to be careful with who we trust or let into our lives. By the way, I post true crime cases about mothers every week. If that sounds like your kind of thing, please consider subscribing. It really helps a lot. This crime took place in St. Louis, Missouri. Located along the Mississippi River, it is a city rich in culture, history, and iconic landmarks. However, St. Louis has struggled with a high violent crime rate with over 200 homicides yearly. Unfortunately, this case would add 3 more names to the list. Roseanne McCulley, also known as Rosie, was an immensely creative and compassionate individual. She was known for her quick wit, her love for art, and her dedication to her custom-designed business, Glitter on the 8th. Rosie was a mother to 3 amazing children, whom she loved dearly. She was a serious go-getter who believed in making her own money and financial independence. But behind her joyful public image, Rosie was battling a reality that she increasingly shared online, a relationship tainted by abuse. You see, Rosie and the man named Bobby McCulley had met and been together for years. From the outside, it may have seemed like a typical relationship, but court records later showed a history of turmoil and violence that started well before they got married. In fact, Rosie filed a domestic violence complaint against Bobby back in 2017. However, with limited evidence and Rosie's eventual decision not to press charges, the case was dropped, and the 2 remained together. The 2 officially tied the knot in July 2018, and he became the father of her youngest child. Friends recall that Rosie seemed genuinely excited on her wedding day, but that optimism was unfortunately short-lived. The years that followed were marked by a continuing pattern of abuse. Bobby would be so violent with her that she had to get treated frequently. Even the neighbors complained that the relationship was so toxic that they would hear Rosie and Bobby yelling from their homes at least 4 days a week. Sometimes, they heard things breaking in the house. Rosie's social media became a window into her pain, with posts describing frightening incidents and pleas for support. Just days before being unalived, she posted about her struggle on the internet, saying, "I'm back home from the hospital, everyone. CT showed all my organs are good, but he was apparently able to stomp my chest and abdomen, so the bruising and swelling are really bad there. Some muscle damage, they think." Her pain was so immense that she required IV-administered morphine. The hospital even sent her home with more drugs because she was in so much pain. On another occasion, she described in detail how he had beaten her for not giving him enough attention, admitting she was ashamed of her injuries. Her husband, Bobby, commented on her page, "Everyone enjoying the show, more to come." So many people were surprised by the boldness to make such a comment after being accused of domestic violence. He did not even try to apologize for his action, but rather admitted that he would do it again. It was clear that the marriage was failing. In fact, Rosie made multiple calls to the police from January to February 2021, and some of them were domestic violence reports.
According to police records, multiple calls from the McCulley home were made in the last couple of weeks, one of them for domestic violence.
Despite everything, Rosie tried to find the strength to break free. She kicked Bobby out and eventually publicly asked for help removing his belongings from her home, hoping this would allow her a fresh start. The two started working on their divorce at the end of February, but just a few days later, Rosie would meet the worst. On the night of March 5th, 2021, 35-year-old Bobby McCauley broke into Roseanne McCauley's home with the intention of ending Rosie's life. One neighbor saw him breaking into the house at around 8:30 p.m., but when the police arrived, they did not find anything amiss, so they left. Many people have wondered whether this story would have been different if the police searched the house or even took the call seriously when they arrived. When the coast was clear, Bobby held Roseanne and the children in the house and put them through abuse for hours before picking up his gun and shooting them. Then he grabbed their 1-year-old daughter and left. Another one of Rosie's neighbors called the police again when she heard gunshots. In her statement, she wrote that she woke up to screams, yelling, and a loud banging sound. That's when she noticed that Rosie's house lights flickered. 3 things which were strange. She then called to check up on Rosie twice, but there was no answer. At this point, she felt that something was strange, so she dialed 911. The police arrived and checked, but they didn't find anything at first. Thankfully, they went to the back, pointing their guns and mentioning that they were the police. When no one answered, they broke the door only to find the bodies of Roseanne and her 2 kids by the entrance. It did not take long for the police to figure out that the main suspect was Bobby. Friends and neighbors admitted that the two would often quarrel, and he was recently kicked out. This made the police fear for the safety of the youngest daughter, so they issued an Amber Alert for her at about 4 a.m. An Amber Alert is a public notification system used in the United States to quickly disseminate information about missing children who are believed to have been taken away. When it is activated, law enforcement agencies distribute information about the missing child, the suspected person, and any relevant vehicle details via multiple channels, including television, radio, digital billboards, and mobile alerts. The police were desperate to find the little girl, so they made sure Bobby's picture was posted everywhere. The alert mentioned that he was likely in a silver 2010 Dodge Charger.
A friend believes that she was the last person to speak to Rosie alive. She last talked to Rosie around 6:30, but planned to check in regularly.
And I'm calling. She didn't answer. And I sent her a text message.
Around 10:30, St. John texted, "Answer me." The response was, "Busy, I will hit you back shortly." St. John wrote, "Girl, I was about to beat these streets," but then she realized that wasn't a normal response from Rosie. She wrote, "Bobby, let my niece go." There was no response. At the time, he may have still been in the house after killing Rosie and her 13-year-old son and 6-year-old daughter.
In fact, the authorities believed that he was the culprit. So he was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 7 counts of armed criminal action. Thankfully, in just 1 hour, the little girl was found safe. A source confirmed that the girl was dropped off at a family member's home in North St. Louis at about 3:30 a.m. on Friday, and the Missouri State Highway Patrol canceled the Amber Alert. The 1-year-old girl was immediately taken to an area hospital to be checked by doctors, and it was confirmed that nothing was wrong with her. That's when the police returned their attention to finding Bobby. A citywide manhunt was launched. The police even contacted Bobby's family, including his mother, but they all said that they could not find him. It was hard to find him, but one attempt on the city surveillance cameras picked up on Bobby's car driving near Goodfellow Boulevard and Natural Bridge Avenue, close to the city-county line in the North City. They followed his vehicle to the 1300 block of Clinton in the old North St. Louis neighborhood. Then, the worst thing happened. Officers were trying to arrest Bobby McCauley, who had a gun. He hurt himself while sitting inside a car, and his life ended there. He was not brave enough to face his crimes and decided to take the easy way out. Unfortunately, he passed away from his injuries after committing such a terrible crime. The strange part about this arrest was that his car was found very close to his mother's apartment, which led the police to believe that she was lying when she said she had no idea where he was. Bobby's mother, Michelle Clayton, faced charges for allegedly misleading law enforcement during the search, apparently to protect her son. She was arrested and charged with a felony for hindering prosecution, with her bond set at $25,000. Authorities and community members alike expressed frustration with the handling of the case, feeling that past warnings had been overlooked.
They saw exactly what had been done to her, and they charged it as some misdemeanor, assault 3 or something, which meant they could only put out a wanted, which means that they weren't actively looking for him.
There were several instances where Roseanne called the police on Bobby, but he was not arrested or taken to prison. Rather, a light warning was given, and unfortunately, it led to the death of 3 innocent victims. Bobby McCulley's history of violence did not surprise many, but raised a lot of concern for women. It spanned over a decade, going back as far as 2008 with multiple incidents of domestic violence. Court records revealed that he was already feared by several women. In 2016, one woman filed a protective order against him, describing how Bobby had once pointed a gun at her and her child. Another woman had documented his threats toward her and her mother, detailing incidents where he sent a girlfriend to intimidate her at her mother's house. In addition to these incidents, Bobby had an earlier criminal case in 2010 when he admitted to false imprisonment, meaning he held someone against their will. He received a year of probation and an ankle monitor for his offense, but no jail time. People gathered around for a memorial service in Clayton the next Saturday after the death to honor Rosie and her 2 kids. Purple balloons were seen everywhere in the sky to mark the tragic passing. This was a symbol of people's wishes for them to find peace in the afterlife. Friends and family were heartbroken. Rosie was a cherished friend to many, described as loving, private, and sweet. Her close friend, Stephanie St. John, recalled being one of the last people to speak with Rosie. According to her, Rosie had only recently started opening up about the abuse she was enduring from Bobby, especially after a severe incident where he assaulted her. St. John had urged Rosie to seek safety for herself and her children, but Rosie had hesitated. Though authorities had been looking to arrest McCulley for his past actions, they didn't consider him an immediate threat to Rosie and her family, stating there was no active warrant to ensure his capture. People, especially the neighbors, questioned how someone with Bobby's violent history could still pose such a danger to others, even with documented incidents spanning years. How come he wasn't immediately arrested despite having a criminal case for several years?
I've been trying all, I ain't even been asleep. I was trying to get to sleep, I'm devastated. Very sad day for that to happen this close to home. Excuse me for crying. They didn't deserve that. I never get over this one here. Very beautiful young lady.
It was simply outrageous. On March 13th, Rally for Rosie and people soon gathered outside the St. Louis County Justice Center in memory of Rosie, Caden, and Kaylee, and to demand better protections for domestic violence victims. Rosie's mother spoke out, expressing the family's heartbreak and frustration with the authorities' response, pointing out that Bobby's charges had been downgraded to misdemeanors, which led to a less urgent search for him. Representative Cori Bush also spoke out against violence at the rally.
We have to put focus in areas where there has not been real focus. And we know there has not been enough focus because it keeps happening. And so we have to do that work. And I am coming from, and you all know my story, I'm a survivor myself. And the only way I got out, this man standing right here in this Cori Bush shirt, my father, after almost 2 years and almost losing my life 3 times, my dad, I called him one day. I couldn't even talk to him. I didn't even want to talk to him. I was so ashamed about what I was going through, about what I was allowing. I was so hurt and broken. But one day I just picked up the phone at work and I called and I didn't say a word. And he didn't even know it was me. He just said, I'll be there to get you. And he gave me a time and I was ready with trash bags and I threw him out the door and my dad called him and threw him in his van, and that was the end of that situation. Saved my life.
There are many things about this case that give its tragedy more depth. Roseanne McCulley's story is a tragic example of how looking away from abuse, even for a short time, can result in unimaginable loss. Despite her efforts to reach out for help through complaints and social media posts, her situation was left largely unaddressed, leaving her and her children vulnerable to ongoing danger. At the end of it all, we're left with many questions. For instance, do you think that earlier intervention or a different approach may have changed this tragedy? Many wonder if the police response to previous complaints of abuse was good enough. Should authorities have done more when Rosie repeatedly reached out, or when neighbors expressed concerns about the escalating violence? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much once again for watching another video by Wednesday Crime. If you like the way we bring to you stories or you learned something new today, please like this video and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't yet. As always, remember to leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Perhaps someone learns from your experience or advice. I will talk to you again in another video. It's bye for now.